Looks like I might be broadcasting the infinite screen there. I'll pull that down. So, welcome to my first live event. Anybody watching this afterwards, since nobody's here but me? I hope I'm not talking to myself entirely. I hope I'm at least talking to YouTube. Says it's sharing my screen, so I'm going to just assume that it is. And just go for it here. So, the plan today is to take a look at Prenzlauer Berg, and I have to say, I would like it. Maybe I need to view my own video. Let's see what it looks like. Prenzlauer Berg. Holy cow. I have to say, I would like it. Maybe I need to view my own. That's weird. I'm going to have to mute that. Otherwise, you're probably getting a lot of echo. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I'd like to see the chat at the same time I'm doing this, and I'm not sure how I'm going to pull that off because I want to show you my screen here and not... I'm watching. So one watching now, it's me. Oh, yeah, here we go. Got the infinite screens going on again. Yeah, I'd like to see that chat just in case somebody shows up, but I'm kind of busy. I think I'll pull this out, and then I'll just move this map to the left, and I'll just kind of keep that off to the side in case anybody shows up on the chat. That's a little better. There might be a more efficient way to do that, but that's good enough for me. So here we are. I've already showed up on... I'm just going to hide that for now. I've already showed up on Berlin here in Prenzlauer Berg. I always type it in as one word, but Google kept trying to correct me. And here it is on the map as two words, Prenzlauer Berg. But there's so many little different bergs, Lichtenberg and whatever other berg around Berlin. Nevertheless, here we are in Prenzlauer Berg, a really great neighborhood to walk around, and of course, a mainstay of tourism. If you're visiting Berlin, you probably come to the city center and then quickly find yourself over in Prenzlauer Berg because a lot of the Berlin Wall stuff is over there. I think before I get into this here, I'm going to get a drink, which I have here. Shall remain unnamed as to what it is, but just pour that out and then I can get started. So yeah, a lot of the, of course, the Berlin Wall, that's an interesting topic in and of itself. If you're visiting the city, it zigzagged all over the place. And could be that this red line that I'm seeing is trying to indicate the wall. It just says unnamed road. I'm not sure if that's what Google Maps is trying to indicate. I suppose one way to find out would be to go over to Bernauer. Excuse me, not Bernauer. Well, yeah, Bernauer and the Mauer Park is what I was thinking. No, I don't see that red line here. So that's, you know, one place that the wall prominently cut across was Bernauer Street or Bernauer Strasse. And here I'm noticing in the map view right away are Konaplatz. This is a great flea market. You'll see up here, this is the flea market that's most well known, the one in Mauer Park. And so that is a very busy and a great flea market to hit. You know, it's just loaded with people and all kinds of good stuff. But if you want something a little more local, go down here to Konaplatz, and that's a great flea market for local stuff. Not quite as overrun. And I think this, what's marking the evangelical church, yeah, this is actually the church that was blown up, I want to say in the 80s, actually. Might have been the late 70s, but I think it was the early 80s that the wall just kind of used to run right through the middle of this church. And it was in the East Berlin section. And and they decided to blow that up. So this is the, let me think here, is this the East Berlin section? That's the other thing. It's always hard to know. You're kind of zigzagging in and out of it, which part was west and east, unless, of course, you grew up there or you were there in the 70s or 80s. So if anybody shows up, maybe they can tell me which side was which here. If I think about it, it'll come to me. Certainly Mauer Park had a very East Berlinish quality. And I want to say most of Prenzlauer Berg, if not all of it, was in East Berlin. And so, that's always an important thing when you're there to get a sense of the history and how things have changed over time, is if you're in an old East or West neighborhood. But this intersection right here, Eberswalder, where you have the underground station for Eberswalder, although it's actually quite above ground. This whole intersection of Eberswalder and Schonhauser Alley and Poppel Alley, this is a great street, and this intersection itself is really busy. And so I think I'm going to drop down right in there. I'm going to get my little guy here. And let's say, yeah, what the heck, we'll go right here. And here we have it. So that is the Eberswalder stop. So always a super busy intersection here. And just kind of get a little further, we can see how you end up crossing the street over here. I think I zoomed in a little by accident. There we go. And that's how you get up to the Eberswalder U. I want to say it's the U2 or the U. Yeah, that's the, think about that. I want to say that is the U2 line. It goes quite far. It goes north into Pankow, and then it goes really across the whole city over to the Old West. So that's a great train line. And I was always just kind of fascinated with this whole thing when the first time I came to Berlin. Well, that shot me down really far. That was ridiculous. Oh my gosh. I ended up way the heck down here by the brewery. This is a cool thing too. But boy, that was really quite a long shot with one click. Let me get back up the road here. I might even just want to hop back to the map. Oh my goodness, I'm covering quite a bit of that. Well, I don't see anybody in chat anyway. So yeah, let me go back. That was quite a shot there. I went from Eberswalder all the way down here to this Culture Brewery halfway down the street. Let me push myself. This is too bad now. Maybe I should go into satellite view instead, and we'll have a better time because a lot of these streets are blocked off, and I can go into 3D view. This will be a little better. So here we are on Kastanienallee and the Prater Beer Garden, one of the better beer gardens that you can find in the city. I mean, it depends what you like. And I'm just going to push that over again in case anybody shows up. But because there are many beer gardens in, let me just say, there we go, in Tiergarten. And those are very nice green park-like beer gardens. But this Prater Beer Garden has old East Berlin quality to it. It's pretty vast. You'll see the gate over here. You walk in through these trees. On the left, you have a kind of a restaurant, which I've never eaten at because they have little stands in here. Maybe we can zoom in just a bit more. So the little, pretzel and sausage and pickle stands are all over here. And then over here, you get your beer. And they serve Meisel's, which is one of my favorite Weiss beers. It's really just this nice amber orangey color, kind of weedy, really beautiful beer. So this is a great spot to hit on a summer day. And you can see they've got this weird old, let's swing that around. This weird old stage over here. The first time I came, I thought it was a pool, but because there's almost like a diving platform thing here, but it's just more of a theater, and those are platforms for lighting and whatnot. But you can see all little yellow tables out here. So these are all sort of picnic-sized tables. And if you come here, say around 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening, this place is filled with people. Everybody comes here after work. It's great in the summer. You got a good evening, comfortable. There's little kids here. There's people of all ages, all walks of life hanging out in this beer garden. I wouldn't say it's cheap, it's something like 3.50 or even €4 by now for whatever that size stein is. It might be a whole liter. If not, it's not less than 3/4 of a liter. Um, but that's sort of typical. So it's not the cheapest beer. If you want cheap beer in Berlin, what you do is you go to a supermarket or you go to one of these little convenience stores. And I could maybe point one of those out because convenience stores in Berlin are actually a place to hang out. They often have picnic tables in front of them, and you could do worse because you can usually get a beer or pretty much anything. I mean, it's supermarket prices there. So that's quite a nice feature. So Kastanjenallee is super busy. These awnings over here. So here we were at the Prater Garden down here. And the other thing that's good about the Prater Garden is they've got great bathrooms. So again, that's no small thing when you're traveling. You go in for a beer, you can really wash up in there. It's a good, easy to use bathroom where you can just clean up and hang out for a while and really, get refreshed. But this whole street is always loaded with diners. It's kind of like Italian places and ice cream shops and stuff. So it's sort of like a little one step past fast food. And you get a couple of banks here. So these are actually pretty useful, this whole intersection. There's 2 or 3 major banks here. So if you're just doing the currency exchange, so many streets that come together over here. Of course, Google Maps has a nice, so it must have been early. But I like to go to this cafe over here. This used to be Impala Coffee, but now it's Coffee Fellows. And it's better and it's worse. Coffee Fellows is one of these places where a lot of the digital nomads like to hang out. So it is just an ocean of Mac laptops in there, especially on the second floor. The second floor is really set up as a kind of a workspace. And so it's a chain. It's expensive. You can see it says Coffee Fellows there now. Not that I found any particularly cheap coffee. Just see if I can spin that around just so you can see that building, because it has a nice sidewalk area, and it's a great place to just watch this intersection and watch the world go by, because there's something really cool about this green steel awning that hangs over the Erbiswalder station. It's old. You can see this thing in old pictures, this intersection, this whole neighborhood, of course. You can find postcards of this neighborhood. Just these awesome, like 5-story European apartment houses with courtyards in the middle. And so that's really just a nice place to hang out and watch the trains come in and go, watch them go over on the U here. It goes underground as you go down the road. This track goes right underground. So just briefly, it pokes up here to get above all the traffic. And I remember the first time I came to Berlin, this thing was just run down, and it's sort of spruced up a bit now. But I kind of like a lot of that old rundown stuff. There you can see the TV tower in the distance. So we're not very far from Mitte or the middle. I didn't really hang out a lot in Mitte. That's just too touristy, too mainstream. And not that there aren't some cool things there, but, you want to get into it a little more than that. So anyway, those banks are over here, and you can take the street tram. And, that's actually one telltale sign. If you're trying to figure out whether or not you're in the East or the West, just look around for street trams, because the West Berliners, in their infinite wisdom, sorry, there's some fireworks going off in the distance, decided to tear up all the street tracks. And so, of course, they've still got great public transportation everywhere in the city. But if you want a street tram, only East Berlin, former East Berlin, has that. And so the tram actually goes along here. And if you want to pick it up going in this direction, you actually have to get all the way on the other side. That's one thing I don't like about some of these street trams is this is going to take me on quite a tour as I try to loop around. Is you could be on the right side of the road, and sometimes, especially in this case, the stops are just really pretty far apart. So over here is where you get off if you're going in the east direction. Um, but if you want to go west, you got to be on the other side of that green bridge and pick it up. So it can actually take a little while to cross this conglomeration of streets and just this big knot of an intersection. So that's I've gotten caught up there a few times trying to just get on and off the tram. Of course, I'm also seeing various landmarks here, and if we swing back around, I noticed Mauer Park in the distance. I'm just sort of doing this big loop. There's the Prater Garden again. Um, but if we just zoom that up a little, we will see there is Mauer Park, and so these sort of weird panhandle shaped lights are kind of a landmark because you can see those from a distance. So you always know you're near Eberswalder when you see those things. And that is also your landmark for the flea market. So as we come over here to Mauer Park, the flea market is actually over here in this kind of wasteland looking area. So, when the flea market's only on the weekends, I want to say this one's on Saturday and Sunday. Don't quote me on that. They're always on Sunday, but I'm pretty sure this one is also on Saturday. And so, but the rest of the time you can see it's basically vacant, and there's actually some construction going on here now. So they're sort of rerouting some of the things, but it's also getting a little bit more organized, it seems. But that's a massive market, and you should definitely do that when you go to Berlin. It even spills over to this little section here across the street. But if we go down into this neighborhood, we will see Arkonaplatz, possibly. Yeah, right there, just beneath me. I don't know if I can get sort of above that a bit, but there you go. So this whole thing, let me see where it really is. I want to say the flea market sets up kind of over here, basically in the center. And so it goes the long way. And I really love this one just for the local flavor. So there's a guy who regularly sells records here, and he's a nice guy and he's got good stuff. But if you're looking for the bargains, you always want to find the guy who's got like a stack of 50 records. You can usually find one or two that are really interesting. But plenty of furniture and clothing, and that's the nice thing about the Berlin flea markets is they're real old style flea markets like we used to have here in the States in the 70s, not just this collection of things that people are selling because they bought a bulk rate of something. So anyway, I'm getting a little turned around here. Let me zoom out again. I believe that's Mauer Park again over there. Sure enough. And so here we end up at Bernauer. And I'm probably leaving, I'm not sure where the border of Prenzlauer Berg is exactly. I might be on the edge of it here as it is. But I want to go down this street here, which the name escapes me right now. Let's say it begins with an R. Might be Voltastrasse. Let's see, is it telling me at all in this view? I don't think so. I can hear my computer starting to heat up. So nobody showed up for this live thing. I got to say, I will sometimes look for live stuff on YouTube just to see if somebody's around. Because quite often you'll find these live things with like 700 or 7,000 people in them, and the chat is just going wild. You can't even read anything. I like to find these live shows that have like 10 or 20 or 30 people who actually can kind of get to know each other a little bit and have a civilized chat. But so far, not much happening there. I'm going to just type something in here and see. I'll just say, feel free to say hello or ask a question. One watching, that's me. Okay. So anyway, I'm gonna post this on YouTube so people can watch it. But I think my channel where, I just kind of go through Google Maps and take a look at things and talk about stuff, sort of lends itself to live because when I do it, just on my own and then post it, that's all well and good, and I'll add some audio. But um, it would be nice if other people showed up and I have a real time conversation. But so the reason I want to go down here is because this will take us down to Rosenthaler, which is another great section to hang out in. I sort of actually, left Prenzlauer Berg, which is one of the main, uh, neighborhoods I wanted to explore. But, just as I'm doing this 3D view, I'm just sort of like I am in real life. When I walk around these cities, uh, it's serendipitous. You just go check something out, and then you have an urge for some food, or you're going to hit a particular shop that you wanted to go to, but then you see something interesting, or the landscape looks cool, and you just want to walk through it. Like, here's one of my favorite things, this building right here. It's actually being renovated right now. It's just a really cool old building that survived it all and was kind of half vacant most of the time in the last, say, 15 years. Used for special events and whatnot, but it looks like, they're renovating it and it'll become some high-end apartments with shops on the ground like everything else. Um, but it's my understanding that this was some kind of a fashion school during the East Berlin times. But sort of a landmark for me, very recognizable with that dome. And then over here, we've got this park, which is looking a little brown. Maybe this was taken last summer. They had quite a drought. Seems to be better this year, but looking pretty brown here. But on a nice summer day, and this is green, there's hundreds of people just sitting out on this lawn. So quite a popular spot there. I know a lot of students will hang out down here in Rosenthaler Platz. So if you're taking the U8, the next stop after Bernauer is Rosenthaler, and here I am on that intersection. So this is just a great intersection. There's a lot of cool restaurants and bars, and definitely some good convenience stores for hanging out and having a beer. So, when you want to go out, like if you're walking around the middle of the day and just want to have a few beers, you don't want to go spend a lot of money, you go to one of these convenience store shops and, for $2, you can have a liter of beer, or €2, I should say. So maybe I will just get down onto the street view. Let's see now. Just go back to the map. And let's go down here. So yes, Torstrasse. So that was Brunnenstrasse. Let me just give a little overview of where we've been so far. Well, I'm going to have to zoom out a bit more. Okay, so there's Erbiswalder, and we went down Bernauer, and Mauer Park was up here, and now I'm going south on Brunnenstrasse. This is the U8. You can see Volta, Bernauer, and now Rosenthaler Platz. And if you go a little further, you'd be right in the heart of town. Weinemeisterstrasse, and then I guess it goes right into Berlin Alexanderplatz, which is where the big TV tower is. So it's really not far to the center here. Let me drop my guy down here on Torstrasse, and we should see. Oh, I ended up inside something. Let's see, where did I end up? Is this my pizza shop? If it is, they had old furniture back then. I don't think this is the one that I go to. I think this is the one right on the corner. Let me get out of here again. How can I get out of here? I hate when it drops you down inside something because it's hard to get out of it. Let's try that again. Okay. That's more like it. So getting a little turned around here. Where the heck is Rosenthaler? I believe it's in this direction. Okay, sure enough, here we are. So here's this big intersection. Let's just get in the middle of it. And oh man, took me into some alley. I didn't appreciate that. I was trying to get out. That's, one thing about Google Maps, it's a bit of a pain in that regard. You can get a little jumpy. I see why, because it kind of splits across this track here. Let me go up on this side, see what happens. That's a little more like it. Well, it's a bit of a construction there. I want to say that's all done, whatever that is. So some nice little restaurants over here. Of course, a lot of stuff is privated out, but yeah, it's a little tough to see because I want to say there are a couple of these convenience stores. So one such is over here somewhere. Yeah, it's looking pretty heavily constructed right now. Let me get back to the intersection. This is popular, especially at night, weekend night. Boy, this is loaded with people. So one of the cool things about Rosenthaler is you've got a lot of entrances for the underground. So you can go in over here, you can go in over there, you can go in across the street over here. So it's also helpful just to cross this street because it's just way too busy. There's another one over there. This thing keeps sending me backwards. I like to hang out. Let's see if it'll let me in. Darn. What a pain. Sending me back and forth here. A little tough to see, but so there's a bunch of shops over here, a bunch of pizza shops and whatnot with tables outside. So this is a great spot to hang out and just watch the world go by. I like the place that's like right over here. So right when you pop out of this underground, there's a pizza shop in here where you can't go wrong. And actually, I want to say, let's see if I can get down the road a little bit. Just doesn't want to let me over there. The better item in there is actually the pasta. Yeah, it's sort of trapping me out here. So let me go back to 3D. I'm going to go back to my aerial view. No, nobody's here, so no big deal. We're just going to have to stick to 3D. That seems to give me a little more control, even though it's a little farther out than I'd like to be. So yeah, there's that underground exit. And then right over here, I don't know the name, but just some random sort of pizza restaurant, but their pasta, man, fantastic. It's like 7 or 8 euros. You get a nice big plate of pasta with like gorgonzola sauce and walnuts and fresh arugula, some really beautiful, moist kind of wheat bread, or it's actually, I want to say maybe a rye. But yeah, I really, I'll have the pizza once in a while, but that pasta is where it's at. So great spot right there. And then, right next to that are some of these convenience stores. So I want to say right about there is a convenience store with a couple of tables, and you can just hang out and get yourself a cheap drink. But more of that, there's a bunch of those in this neighborhood. So try one of those out. Don't be afraid to just go inside, grab a liter of beer from the cabinet. They usually have bottle openers right there, and sit down in front of the convenience store and have yourself a cheap beer or two. So the other one's over here that's popular. And I want to say if you go over here, there's more. So there's a sort of bakery here, and there's a big bakery cafe right here where people hang out all the time. It has about a dozen picnic tables. So you just can't go wrong. And even in the winter, it's pretty cool because it's got this kind of hot wine that they serve, and it's just cheap. Stuff is like $2. So there's another nice street tram over here, which you can pick up and you can go north. And so here we are going north again now. And this will take you by the Zion Church, which was a cool little spot to just sort of check out when you go into Prenzlauer Berg. Let me just zoom out a little bit. I think we're going to be coming up on it pretty quickly. Oh, there it is. It was on the left. So that's just, a little free church. It's a little rundown, but definitely worth checking out. And we're back on Castanien Alley. So if I keep going north here, this whole street is just worth walking. If you get tired, you can just hop on the tram, but tons of restaurants and shops on this street. You can see it's tree lined, very pedestrian friendly, really great little part of town to walk through. So if I keep going, I'm going to end up Of course, tons of restaurants over here too. This whole, I'm not sure what this is called. Of course, if you're a local Berliner, you know what this is. This is loaded with restaurants over here. You can see there's a lot of parking. But so just kind of a halfway point up Kastanienallee uh, from Rosenthaler. And here I am already at Prater again and at the Eberswalder intersection. And so now this is, when I think of Prenzlauer Berg, I really think of Schönhauser Alley, which follows the underground tracks up here. Again, tons of shops, and they're all a little bit more high end. Let's move this over. Hey, Gordon. Thanks for showing up, man. You're my first real-time live Google Map viewer. So good to see you. Let me know if you want to explore anything in Berlin. I'm probably just going to hang out here till 10 and make a 1 hour long video. And so I've been going, I don't know how long you've been here. I've been going through various spots in Prenzlauer Berg. And now I'm really getting into it here, where this street, Papalale, again, loaded with restaurants and shops. But they're getting expensive. As you get up in here, this used to be a rundown. You know, the time to come here would have been in the early 90s to grab some cheap real estate, because now these are all $500,000, million, and multi-million-dollar properties. But they were all run down in the early 90s. And of course, I'm sure there's all different stories of corruption as to who got what and how they obtained it and what connections they had. But as you can see, there's just great architecture in here. All of these, again, 5-story apartment type buildings. You can see like schools and theaters. And now they're all just big apartments with lots of expensive ice cream and Vietnamese shops. As you can see here, crepe station. So tons of stuff. Here's looks like a little park under construction. That's all complete by now. And that's one of the nice things you'll find in this neighborhood too, is a lot of little green parks for hanging out. Although this might be the train tracks that I'm over by now. Let me see. I'm just trying to move a little bit west here back to Schönhauser Alley. Well, it looks like I got that roof of that church there. It's always a good landmark. You know, you're getting close to Schönhauser when you see that thing. So here's Schönhauser again. And so there's a little mall up here where you can pick up. I want to say this is the Schönhauser Alley station right here. Here we go. I can see I'm getting a little notification. Sure enough, there it is. But there you see like H&M, and there's all kinds of supermarkets over here and whatnot. But this is a good stop because not only do you have the underground here, but you've got the S-Bahn, which is your ring that goes around the city. So if you're heading out from the center, you go up here to Schönhauser, you catch the S, and then you can just go throughout the whole city. Now, if I keep going in this direction and kind of cut across Prenzlauer Berg, this will take us out to Prenzlauer Alley, which kind of runs parallel to Schönhauser. But I wanted to do it so we could take a look at this planetarium, the Zeiss Gross Planetarium, which was getting renovated for years. You know, I think I first came to Berlin in 2008, and I didn't get into that planetarium until maybe 2 years ago. And it was all renovated, of course. They've got a nice surround sound astronomy show going on in there now. But when I went in there, it was maybe open for a week or two. Hadn't been open for very long. And I had the pleasure of meeting the only East German astronaut, or cosmonaut as he was called. This guy named Sigmund Jahn, who was must be about 80 by now, or in his early 80s. But of course, he's perfectly vital because he was an old astronaut who worked for the Soviets. And of course, that had a lot of propaganda value. And I want to say if he was even in the movie, or he was portrayed in the movie Goodbye Lenin, which is that film about a woman who goes into a coma while the wall is falling. And when she wakes up, her children don't want her to be shocked that East Germany is gone. There's no more East Berlin. The city's unified, and so they kind of put on a play for her and make it look like East Germany is still exists, that nothing has changed. And they know a taxi driver who looks like Sigmund Jan, and they hire him to make a video and have him pretend that he's the new president of the unified Germany. So he's a pretty well-known figure in East Germany. And he was cool. So he just gave a talk about his experience going up into space with the Soviets. But he is sort of the only East German, if not German, astronaut. There probably weren't any from the West in the 70s or 80s. I don't know about now. He probably did. So he spoke only German, and so everything he said was being translated to me in real time. And I'm really, I don't remember too much about what he said, but I just remember it was more of like a slideshow where he was showing all the photos of like his personal photos of his experience. I don't know how much of that would have been kind of quiet at the time, because obviously the media was highly controlled, but he had all these personal photos, and it was really cool because it had that classic 70s outer space content, where everything was sort of rickety. And if you see the movie, is it called First Man, this new space movie with, geez, my memory's going. Who's the young actor there? The goose guy, what's his name? Ryan Gosling, where he plays Neil Armstrong. And that's a fantastic space movie because I just love the way that portrays space travel at that time, where the machines are so rickety, and the sound design on that is beautiful. It has a really nautical quality of going up to space in the 60s in these really rundown steel machines, and how kind of freaky that must have been. Anyway, here I am now back on the main road, which, the streets kind of change, even though this is one big loop and it was Bernauer before. I want to say this is called Danziger now. Yeah, sure enough, it sort of flashed there. So this is Danziger, and the tram will run you down here. And it's pretty, let me just zoom out. It's pretty massive. And actually, I just highlight over here. Actually, I'll just jump back a little bit so you can get your bearings again back to Eberswalder. I can get my bearings again. If I can. Where the heck is it? There it is. There's Eberswalder again. So to the south of Eberswalder, you stop. Is this neighborhood, I want to say it's called, there's a Kollwitzplatz down in here somewhere, named after Katja Kollwitz, who was a well-known artist from sort of German Expressionism. But there's a million restaurants down here, and so this is a popular hangout spot at night. Here we go. We see Kollwitzplatz. And there's a water tower around here somewhere, which sort of typical. There's the Culture Brewery, and you'll see a lot of this in Berlin. Old breweries that have been converted into big, apartments and shops. This is one of the main ones here, this Culture Brewery. There's a museum in there, movie theaters. You can see all kinds of stuff. I'm having a hard time finding the old water tower. I always seem to stumble on it in real life. There it is. There's a water tower, Wasserturm, whatever, Wasserturm, little Pankow Museum. So Pankow is not breadcrumbs, but the name of the neighborhood just kind of north of Prenzlauer Berg. And so we're just kind of doing a big aerial here, but just kind of moving east because I wanted to highlight this park we're coming upon. Here you saw it. I'll just zoom out again. Volkspark Friedrichshain. It's just a big outdoor park for the neighborhood, and definitely worth hitting. I don't know what we can see here on the aerial view, but they have a lot of cool sculptures in here, and they're all kind of like fairy tale sculptures where they're showing. See if I can find the right entrance. It's such a massive park. They're showing different scenes from various Brothers Grimm fairy tales. So they have sculptures of the characters. I might be completely on the opposite side of the park by now. Oh no, here it is. So Marchenbrunnen. If you come in on this side of the park, you walk in here. See if I can zoom in on it a little bit more. Yeah, you can't really tell, but plenty of little cool sculptures in here worth checking out. And so, as you can see, a really green park, really nice. And if you manage to walk through the whole thing, you will get yourself into Friedrichshain or Friedrichshain. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Although this is quite a maze of a section as well, because these buildings really start to all look the same, and there aren't a ton of great landmarks over there. But Friedrichshain is a great neighborhood to hang out in. These two towers here, these sort of copper towers, this tells you you're at Frankfurter Tor, Frankfurter Alley. This is really getting into the heart of the old East Germany here. These buildings are really palatial and impressive. These are sort of the old worker buildings. See that cool tower? I'm doing a little flyby on it, trying to. Jumping around a bit. But these are just massive apartment buildings in here, and they really just line the whole street. And it can take you hours to just walk across these neighborhoods. So really impressive. But this is worth checking out, actually. If you find yourself at Frankfurter Alley and Frankfurter Tor, you can hop out right over here. Is like a 5-story thrift shop called Humana. And so if you're looking for the old used clothes and you don't find any that you like, or you want more, find them in the flea markets, you can head over here to Humana. Surprised it's not coming up. I'm seeing the hairstylist, but this is definitely it. And then, or maybe I'm facing the wrong way. That will probably explain it. No matter. Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to tell from the aerial. That could be it right there. Yeah, there it is. I was pointing at the wrong one. Used clothing, Humana. There it is. They all kind of look the same on this intersection. But I like to go to a particular record store up here called Galactic Supermarket. So Gordon's asking how often do I visit Prenzlauer. I mean, I go there every time I go to Berlin, and I go 2 or 3 times a year. Right now, probably down to 2. Might get down to 1. But Prenzlauer Berg is just sort of a staple. No matter where I'm staying, I've stayed in different parts of the city. But, I don't like to get off in the center too much. I like to just get out of the center a little bit into some tree-lined neighborhoods where you can really do some walking. And Prenzlauer Berg is a good spot for that. Even though the shops are a little pricey, there are 4 or 5 record stores there that I'll hit. And then this one, of course, too, which is Galactic Supermarket. And I've actually hit their bargain bin a few times and found a couple of $100 records. I probably shouldn't admit that. If anybody from Galactic Supermarket ever watched this, they'd be upset. But they like to throw away their Scott Walker albums, and those things are worth money in the States because there aren't any. So I don't think lightning will strike 3 times. I found 2 Scott Walker albums, one worth about 120, the other worth about $45 in their bargain bin. So probably that will never happen again if they ever see this, but who knows? What are the odds? At any rate, if you end up coming down here now, you will get to Warschauer. So this is a major landmark as well. This is coming out to what they call the East Side Gallery, which is kind of well-known part of the Berlin Wall that is still standing. Of course, they've got giant malls here now, but this is the Warschauer station, which is all being rebuilt. If I look further east still, we'll really see a lot of old East German content out here. And there's another water tower off in the distance, and this is is it Ostkreuz? I think it's Ostkreuz. It's the east. I'd have to zoom into it, of course. Let me see here, because that's going to bug me if I don't find out. But Let's just see, is that Ostkreuz? But that's another one that's all revamped. Let's see what kind of condition it's in. Yeah, because you can see like this 1850s water tower thing over here. And well, sure enough, it's all labeled now Ostkreuz, so you can't miss it. First time I came to Berlin, this was a very tiny rundown station, and they're rebuilding everything now, and it's a very short distance between Ostkreuz and Warschauer. You could probably even almost read Ostkreuz from the Warschauer station. Zillion train tracks. But it's nice that that's all renovated. So yeah, here's Warschauer and there's Ostkreuz. I mean, you can practically see it out at the same window. But so yeah, these are popular hangout spots here. I don't know what that is floating in the sky. That's some kind of a glitch. That's pretty cool. Anyway, big giant mall over here. And then as I was saying, here's Warschauer. Let's just get in close on that again. Kind of doing this aerial view of this whole east section. So yeah, nightclub Watergate, there's a popular spot. Here's the river. Name I'm forgetting right now. But this bridge, which was pretty bombed out, pretty run down in the 70s and even 80s, I want to say. I don't think they renovated this till the 90s. But it's a major, pretty cool bridge, major landmark. Trains go over it, people walk over it. And as you can see, there are a ton of clubs here on the water. People love to hang out over here. Although I want to say it's a bit touristy because this is right near, as I was saying, the East Side Gallery. So there you can see it at the bottom of the map. A little tough to make out, but that's the Berlin Wall. And so this was West Berlin over here. This is Kreuzberg, which is a great hangout spot. This is essentially the American section, the American sector. Berlin was divided up into French, American, and Soviet and British sectors. So the American sector was Kreuzberg, and so a lot of cool, hip stuff over there. But the East Side Gallery, let's see if we can just swing around there, because that goes on for quite a while. All along the river. So here it is. You can see all Berlin Wall all over here. There you see it's labeled as East Side Gallery. Of course, this real estate is getting all picked up now, all gobbled up for things like this, you know, different apartment complexes. And I want to say the O2 Arena is over here somewhere. Mercedes-Benz, or O2. O2's in England. Mercedes-Benz Arena. There it is. Sure enough, got the giant Mercedes-Benz logo on the roof. And that's right next to this brand new mall, which is under construction here on the map, but is open now. So I don't know why or how, but because malls are dying here in America. But in Berlin, they're thriving. Yeah, I knew there was some kind of O2 thing over here. I'm not sure what that's about. I would not be caught dead in any of these arenas for a concert. I'm sure they're not any good. I mean, you know, whatever. If you want to see a big show, you don't really have much of a choice. But I just, you know, try to avoid those big shows. So this, if I keep going this way now, it's just going to get us right into the center, into what they call Mitte, which is sort of the main tourist area. We're here right at the base now of Alexanderplatz. And if I look up, we should see the TV tower. It'll let me. Oh, it won't let me. We'll just have to zoom in. That's the base of it anyway, to get a different view. So, of course, that is the major landmark. There's the old City Hall, Rathaus, as they call it. Still standing, obviously highly renovated, because so much of the stuff got bombed out and destroyed in the war. How much of the TV tower can I see from here? It just won't let me. I wonder if I zoom like that. There's an old church. And let's see what happens if we do a flyby. All right, there we go. There's a TV tower. Looking pretty cool. You know, as many times as I've been to Berlin now, I have never gone up in that thing. No interest. I mean, I'm sure it's a cool view, but not that interesting. So this is basically the whole Unter den Linden thing. And you can see actually to the left here, well, so this is the dome. This is where in the basement all the Hohenzollerns are entombed, and you can walk around the crypt, and that's actually pretty cool. But this thing right here, this is the Schloss. They are reconstructing the old castle. So back in the day, this thing was the East German parliament called the Lamp Store. And unfortunately, they tore that down because that was a pretty significant place for the East Berliners. But they tore it down. And the first time I came to Berlin, this was just a field. And there was a couple of guys who I don't think had any jurisdiction, but they were charging like €1 or two to give you access to a ladder that climbed down into some basement of the original Schloss. And you could walk for, I don't know, a couple hundred feet and look around at this basement of the original castle. So this is actually a private venture. This was actually funded with private money, and it's going to be just apartments and shops and whatnot. Cultural center, probably museum in here, but it's made to look like the original castle built whenever, 1700 sometime. So that's getting close to being finished. That thing is almost done, although kind of interesting to see it here. I haven't seen us. Last time I was there, it wasn't open. We'll see. I'll be in Berlin next week, and I'll check it out if it's open for sure. There's the Altus Museum across the way. Definitely worth seeing. And then this whole thing, of course, is called Museum Island National Gallery. And then a lot of these, even in this picture, but also currently all under renovation. The Pergamon Museum, this is where you can see the Ishtar Gate. Pergamon is a Turkish altar, or not a Turkish altar, I shouldn't call it that. It's a Roman altar that was from the city of Pergamon in Turkey that they reconstructed here inside this museum. So, and then the Bodhi Museum, I believe, finishes the peninsula right here. So this is the popular hangout spot in Berlin when you first come, is the whole Museum Island, Unter den Linden, and then this eventually will take you out to the Brandenburg Gate. Let's see. I want to linger here for a second because even though I don't hang out in the middle a lot, I want to highlight something. If anybody's ever checking it out, I'm getting a little turned around here. Okay, there's the dome again. So if we go this way now, all right, there's going to be the, all right, I'm facing the wrong direction. There's the Schloss on the other side of the dome. And if you go over here, right here now, this is actually all pretty cool. Schinkelplatz has all been rebuilt. There's a really cool statue to Schinkel, who was sort of the main architect for a lot of the stuff down here. And that was an original old park. So they basically reconstructed it again, this sort of rebuilding things that were destroyed during the war. But this building right here is called Friedrichswerderscher Kirche. So this church is a nice old church, and I used to love this thing. This had a statue museum. I want to say they were all Schiller statues. Zoom in a bit on that thing there. But when they constructed this thing, they managed to, or this thing, I don't know when or how they did it, but they managed to damage the foundation of this church. This thing was completely renovated. It was beautiful, wonderful stained glass. You'd go in there and look at these great statues, beautifully lit, and just had a nice eerie quality to it. And unfortunately, since they did that, it's been closed, it's been almost 10 years now. So eventually when they finish messing around here, they're also putting a new underground line in here. When they finish messing around, I'm sure they'll get this open again, but those statues have already been moved, and I'm sure they'll have something else in there. I want to say around here, I don't know if it's marked. Maybe it's Babelplatz. Yeah, you can see it says square with a memorial to book burning. So this is where the sort of famous first book burnings took place, right around here. And then just to the left of that is the Gendarmen Market, where you see these cool old sort of plaza and these cool buildings here. Not too much to do there, really. Just a bunch of shops and stuff and people drinking and hanging out, but definitely architecturally really beautiful. really great to see that, because there isn't, as much has been renovated, there isn't a ton of really old stuff. And so that whole plaza there is worth checking out. So all just sort of walking along this so-called Unter den Linden, which seems to be, if I'm on it right now, it's devoid of trees. Oh, no, here it is. Okay. There's a few trees left. But so if you keep walking down here, you will eventually come to the Brandenburg Gate. Sure enough, there it is. So the Brandenburg Gate, major tourist spot, of course, all nicely renovated now. And if we look west, this is this major street here. I'm seeing those horses. Major street here. There's a really cool statue of this woman, like calling her children home. Probably can't see it too well on the 3D view. I want to say it's right there. You can see a little shadow. And then there's, if you keep going down this street, this is all the Tiergarten, which is a massive park, sort of the Central Park of Berlin. But if you keep going down here, you will come to the angel statue. Here it is. Let's see what kind of a view they give us of that. Will you give it to me? There it is. Okay, so sort of coarsely interpreted there, but pretty cool. So, you know, an amazing city. So much to see. But one major landmark leads to another. And I, of course, skipped many things and just sort of zipping around this area. Somewhere back there in the Tiergarten, closer to Brandenburg Gate. See if we can get back there. Here we go. So if I go just to the north of this, which is currently to my left, we will be at the Parliament, which is sort of famously destroyed during the war, and scenes of the Red Army blowing up the swastika on top of this building. But now it's all got this giant glass encased dome, and you can go up in that. It's really cool, especially at night. Nighttime's the time to do that. And so what are you saying here, Gordon? Stunned at how well they constructed the more regular city elements around their famous landmarks. Yeah, of course, that's one of the cool things in Europe, is to always go to like the old town center and then see these new constructions around it. And so, yeah, definitely the Parliament is impressive for that. And the other thing that's really cool for that is right nearby. If I just sort of go up here a bit, we will come to the Hauptbahnhof, which is the central train station. So if you're in Germany, every city has a Hauptbahnhof. There it is. You can see the Deutsche Bahn sign up there. And this is just, I really enjoy this building, this giant glass encased train station. So fun to walk around in there. I'm going to go to the other side of it because there's actually kind of a front to it. It's, of course, it's kind of a mall / train station now, but really cool. And there's kind of basically the front door of that. Let's see if we can get a little closer. But so, you know, just this massive canopy, and you can catch regional trains here, or you can just be on the S-Bahn going around the city, or you can go into the basement and catch the underground. But there is basically the front door of the Hauptbahnhof, and very busy, of course, and a great place to check out. So I want to say that's going to do it for me. I've gone an hour, and I think that's a good time to stop. Thanks a lot, Gordon, for showing up. That was awesome that you did that. Who knows, maybe next time we'll get one or two other people and get more questions and have a little conversation. I know there is a bit of a lag because when I checked it, because right now I have my audio muted, but if I go and check it, it's actually like a minute behind. So thanks, buddy. Thanks for showing up. I'm not really sure how to stop this thing. This is the first time doing it. I guess I'm going to pull this thing up. You're welcome for the tour. As is often the case with this, I usually go a little far afield. I start off somewhere and I'm just going to focus on Prenzlauer Berg, but I ended up doing this sort of aerial tour of a big portion of the city. But that's cool. So whatever happens, happens. And I'll try this again another time. All right, catch you later. Cool. I'm still live, apparently. Oh, man. I don't know how to shut this stuff off. Be broadcasting my. So I'm still going here. I don't know. Let's type. That should stop. Some point I'm gonna get this to stop. Oh my god. Still live. How do we stop it? Oh my god. Still working on making things better. No, I don't care. Wait a minute. Go away. Other features, live control room, resume hangout on air, live now. Stop. Complete. I do. God. Oh my lord. How do I stop this madness? I guess I'll just quit the browser.